Welcome to the online tutorial section. Today we will learn about the processing unit and the rest part of this computer system. So the processor is the main component of the computer that involved in doing all the calculation that take place during the processing of the data. The CPU or the central processing unit is the brain of the computer system, and it is made up of two components. What are those two components over here? Okay, so the first component is control unit, that is CU. Another one is the arithmetic and logic unit, that is the ALU. Okay, so these are the two parts are there. One is CPU and another one is the ALU. Okay, so what kind of a function are taken care by the CPU? What functions it will perform? It should read and write information from the program, okay, and to the memory. It should recognize and perform a series of simple commands to carry the program. And third is it should coordinate between different parts of the computer to carry out the instruction. Here, if you are able to see this diagram, so from here you are able to understand the central processing system is consisted of two parts. One is control unit, another one is arithmetic logic unit. Okay, so both of this part having different mode of functions. Okay, they are performing in a different way. Okay, each processor uses an inbuilt set of instruction to process the data in the 3 steps. Okay, so these are fetch, decode and execute operation. So there is a predefined, inbuilt or predefined, you can say, set of instructions are there. So in this way our data can be processed. So what are those steps? The steps are fetch, decode and execute. So in case of fetch operation, the fetch operation load the instruction and the data into the main memory of the computer. The decode operation then decode the instruction, that is, it is find the meaning of the instruction. The execute operation finally follows the decode instruction and processes the data. So this is the 3 steps actually CPU is following when processing the data. I am saying that CU and ALU is performing the different kind of a work. Okay, it had the different functionalities. So for the control unit, what functions actually the control unit do? Control supervision. The CU acts like a supervisory unit in the CPU, and it is responsible for issuing the control instruction to carry out the different functions of CPU. So CPU actually set up the communication between the different devices and the memory. So to control everything, okay, everything, the supervision is required. The supervision is take place under the control unit. Active the memory location. To read the data and the instruction from the main memory, the CPU use this control signals to activate those memory location and transfer the data from there to CPU register. Third one is the decode instruction. The decoder present inside the CU is used to decode an instruction and send the appropriate signal to the ALU processor. So decode phase means whatever instruction is given, what actually the meaning of the instruction, that is decoded. Now fourth one is a generate write signal. The processed data needs to be transformed from CPU to main memory. So after processing, we have to send this result to the other output device. So that's why we need to store in the certain memory, main memory. Okay. Now the control coordination. The CU is responsible for the coordination between the memory and the different input-output device. As I am saying, from the input device, instruction or data is coming. It is stored in the main memory, and after processing, okay, from the main memory, it is going to the output devices. So control coordination is very important. Okay. Now we are coming to the part of the ALU. Okay. the arithmetic and the logical unit, it is place where the actual execution of instruction take place during the data processing. Okay, it is responsible for carrying out the arithmetic operation. What are those arithmetic operations? Like addition, subtraction. Okay, and the different logical operations. What are the logical operations? Like checking the equality, less than, greater than, and operation, or operation, etc. Okay, to carry out this arithmetic and logical operation, ALU contains some special purpose register. Okay, so special purpose register is there, adder is there, and comparator circuit is there. You are able to see over here, adder circuit is there, and comparator circuit is there, and accumulator register is there. Okay, so what actually it will do? Adder circuit is there, so here we can perform the add instructions. Okay, and comparator is there. If we are here, you can checking the equality, we are checking the greater than, less than issue. This things phenomenon we are checking over here. Okay, so what are the functions performed by the ALU? Number one is the fetch data. The ALU fetch the data needs to be processed and store them into temporary memory register for processing. Okay, you are able to see over here, you will look at the diagram, there is a temporary storage is there. Okay, so in the temporary storage, ALU fetch whatever instruction it is fetched, but data it is fetched, it is temporarily stored over here for the further processing. The next function is the carry out the calculation based on the control signals. Why here the control signal is required? The control signals, whatever signal is sending, through this signal it is identified it is a addition job or it is a subtraction job, like this. Okay, the based on the control signals generated by the control unit, ALU carry out the different operation. For additional there is a different control signal, for subtraction there is a different control signal. Next is the compare data. Other than doing calculation, ALU also compare two sets of data, like check the equality or inequality. Here also two different set of control signals are there. Now comes to the logical operation. Logical operations like AND operation, OR operation, and NOT operation. Okay. Now store process data. The process data is transferred from accumulator to the proper storage location as per the control signal is generated. Okay. Now we will learn about the microprocessor part. Okay. So when the function of a CPU are integrated in a single integrated circuit using the ultra large scale integration technology, then it is called the microprocessor. Actually, we are able to see the big CPU, it is attached with the computer system. Now in terms of laptop, phone and laptop, for that we don't have the CPU. Okay, okay, we have the microprocessors. So how it is generated? So when the function of a CPU, whatever function is performed by the CPU, it is integrated into a single chip. Okay, so how we are making the single chip? We are using the technology, it is ultra large scale integration technology. So then it is called the microprocessor. In a microprocessor, trillions of transistors are used to form a different components of CPU are packed in the single chip. To pack the CPU in a single chip, there are trillion number of transistors are required, so that it can, so the functionality of the CPU can easily be adapted over here. Okay, by packing up all the parts of the CPU within single chip, increase the processing power of the processor. So what is the advantage over here? If you have packed everything in a single chip, so it will increase the processing power. Okay, so Intel 64 is there, AMD 64 microprocessor are there. There are many more multiprocessor are there. Okay. Okay, now time comes to the multiple core processor. now previously we have learned about microprocessor. Now we will learn about multi-core processor. Multi-core processor were the next development in the processor technology. Previously we have introduced the microprocessor. Now we are coming to the latest technology, that is multi-core processor. For example, a dual core processor is basically two microprocessor are built into one IC. Effectively multiplies the performance of the processor. AMD Alton X2, Intel Pentium, Xenon and the Core 2 Duo are the example of a multi-core processor, where multi-core means many cores are there, different two or more than microprocessor are inbuilt over here in a single chip, so that it will give you the more processing speed. Okay, now we are moving to the storage device part. Okay, storage devices. Okay, since RAM is a volatile type of memory and nothing can be permanently stored in it, to solve the data file, to store or save the data file permanently, we require the secondary storage device. So various type of common storage devices are there. So what are those? Number one is magnetic hard disks. Okay, magnetic hard is the most common type of direct access storage device. Okay, it is used to store the digital data. Okay, in a hard disk, the data are recorded permanently into one or more circular disks. Okay, that is called the platter. Okay, if you have it, okay, I'm changing the page. Here one diagram is there. Okay, just look at the diagram. Okay, this diagram in a circular discs are there. Okay, this is called platter. Okay, so discs actually made up of the non-magnetic material like aluminum alloy, over which a thin layer of magnetic material is applied. Okay, so data is stored by this magnetism in this by this material. Okay, now we are coming to the seek time, data transfer rate, that is actually not required. Okay, now we are coming to the magnetic floppy disks. Okay, so magnetic floppy disks are obsolete nowadays, but these are removable plastic disks which has much lower storage capacity. Two different standard of floppy disks are available. The first one is 5 by 1/4 inches variety with a storage capacity of 1.2 MB, and second one is 3.5 inches one with the storage capacity of 1.4 MB. Okay, lower security is there, low effective sequential process is there, the cost is per bit is very high, it is less portable. These are actually the disadvantage of using the magnetic disk storage. Okay, now we will learn about the magnetic tape media. Okay, used since 1955, the magnetic tape, unlike the magnetic hard disks, it is a sequential access storage device. To access the nth block, a tape drive must keep the first n-1 block to get the nth nth block. The sequential access makes the tape slow. However, it can store a large volume of files. It is usually used for data backup from hard disks in case of hard disk is crashed. A DAT, that is digital audio tape with the capability of 1 TB, is basically used for this purpose. Okay, the cassette you are able to see, yes, this is actually, we can say, the good example of the magnetic tape media. Okay, now we are coming to the next topic, that is compact discs. Okay, a CD or a compact disc is a direct access optimal storage medium. It is made up of a polycarbonate plastic disc of 12 cm of a diameter and 1.2 mm of thickness. Okay, it is smaller 8 cm diameter CDs are also available. The total capacity of 12 cm CD read-only memory or CD-ROM is 700 MB, and it is audio running time is 80 minutes. Okay, So here the data is stored in a CD in a spirally from center of the disc to the circumference in a sector motion. Yes, you are able to see this blocks are called sectors from the center to the circumference in this way, and these are the small blocks. These small blocks are known as the sectors. Okay. Okay, each sector is having the same size of a memory, so there will be no wastage of the memory over here. Okay, there are different type of CD-ROM drive is used to read the data from a CD. Okay, now is coming to the topic, that is the DVD one. Okay. Okay. So, digital versatile discs, that is DVD, or we can say it is a digital video disc also, is an optical storage media like CD, but it stores much more data than the CD. The common is same phenomenon, DVD and CD are doing same work, but where it is a difference between these two, that DVD having the much larger storage. Okay, the maximum capacity of a dual layer DVD is about 8.54 GB as compared to the CD of 7 MB capacity. Okay, so its main uses is the video and the data storage. Okay, the dimension and everything is same as compact disc, that is standard 12 centimeter type, and the 18 centimeter mini DVD also available. Okay. Now coming to the topic is Blu-ray discs. Okay, it is also very important. It is actually, this question is come in the year 2018. It is, what is Blu-ray discs? Okay, so Blu-ray discs or BD is an optical disc storage media. Okay, that can have the capacity of up to 50 GB. It is having capacity more than the DVD. Okay, the main uses are the high definition video, storage of a high definition video, and data storage. Okay, the physical dimension of this BD also same. Okay, but why it is named Blu-ray disc, you have to explain. The question come, what is Blu-ray? This information along with why it is called Blu-ray disc you have to mention. The name Blu-ray is derived from the blue laser, that is used to read the data from the disc. Okay, data is written onto the BD using the same mechanism of the land and pit used in the CV and DVD. Okay, so BD are available as a single layer, as a dual layer also, and a re-recordable, rewritable form also. Okay, now coming to the next topic, that is the flash memory. Okay, flash memory is a solid state storage device, which means that there are no mechanical moving parts and everything is done electronically. So it works similarly to an EEPROM, and it is used a special transistor which makes the flash memory non-volatile in nature. Okay. And flash memory is nowadays used in the various applications, like in the computer BIOS chip, smart media. In case of compact flash, is everywhere we are using these things. Okay. So smart media, compact flash, and a flash drive. So in this part we are using the flash memory. Okay. Now coming to the part, it is data access from the various memory devices. Okay. So what is actually this? When the CPU wants to access some data, it first look for the main register. If it is not found, then it will be look for the cache memory. If the data is absent in the cache memory also, then CPU next searches the data from RAM. If the data is not present in the RAM, then it will be it has to be loaded from the secondary storage devices like hard disks. So backup media like CD, DVD, etc. that are used to preserve this data. So there is a classification. So CPU, whenever any memory is required, that it will be called the main memory. It will be asking this thing from the main memory. If it is not available in the main memory, then it will be go for the cache memory. If it is not there in the cache memory, then it will search in the RAM. If it is then also in the RAM, it's also not available, then it will be go for the secondary memory for getting the data. Okay, there is a classification chart is there of the different memory. Okay, you are able to see this is actually the memory chart is there. Whatever we have learned, this diagrammatically is represented over here. Okay, everything is there. Now we are moving to the next topic, that is the communication bus. Communication bus is actually the new topic for you, but previously you have learned in class 9 you have learned about these things, 9 and 10 you have learned about this thing, but the communication bus is introduced for the very first time to you. So the system bus, okay, first tell me what is the phenomenon, what actually you know the bus, local bus you know. Okay, so what actually bus is doing, it stopped to the different bus stop, they will pick the passenger and drop to the passenger to nearest the destination, nearby destination of the passenger. So exactly same kind of a work is done by this, actually work happen in the computer also, because when a CPU is want some information or some data, so it need to set up a communication between the main memory and the CPU. Okay, so it will call and it will get the data, and after processing it again need to transfer the data. So to set up this communication we require this bus. So what is actually saying, the system bus serves as a main highway that connects the different parts of a computer. These are the set of parallel wires through which data, address and control information flows from one part of the computer to another. Okay, so the system bus are broadly classified into two ways. One is the internal bus, another one is the external bus. Okay, one is internal, another one is the external bus. Okay, so what is the purpose of an internal bus? Internal bus are used to connect the internal component of the CPU, that is the ALU with the set of the register and the cache memory. So it internal component, it will be set up the connection between internal. What are those components? That is CPU, among the CPU that is ALU and with the register and the cache memory. The external bus on the other hand connects the CPU with the external memory and the input output system. Okay, so various devices are required actually. So just have a close look on this structure first. So from the CPU different buses are there, they are connected with this different bus with the storage device, okay, with the input output device. This is a picture. Okay, this is a picture I am explaining, different buses are there. Okay, I am explaining that one. The bus is designed on the motherboard as a set of parallel wire etched onto the motherboard. On a processor board, the bus is contained. There are actually the address bus, one is the data bus and another one is the control bus. Okay, so what is address bus? The address bus connect with CPU and RAM. So what address bus will connect? Address. This is the address bus. So address bus will connect CPU and the RAM. Okay, it is used to carry the address of the memory location where data is need to be transferred. Okay, where actually data is need to be transferred, that address it is holding. Okay, or from that memory it is taking, or you have to load it into the memory. That the reason. The number of where in a bus determines the number of memory location that CPU can address. Okay, number of where it is there in the present in the bus, it denotes the number of the location that CPU address can have. Okay, now coming to the data bus. The data bus is an electrical path that connects the CPU and the memory and the other hardware location from where data needs to be transferred. Okay, you are able to see this one is the data bus. This one is the data bus. So it is actually setting up this connection between storage output device along with the CPU and the RAM. Okay, while processing, if we require the data from hardware locations or from memory location, so it will connect as a whole. Now coming to the control bus. Okay, in addition to sending the address and exchanging the data with the memory, the CPU also needs to be sent control signal to the memory to specify where the data is to be read from and written from in the specified location. So this control bus thus carries this kind of a signals. Okay, now another bus is there, that is a universal serial bus, that is we are calling as USB. Okay, this type of a bus system is released in 1998, attached with a low speed input output device to the computer. Okay, so the standard uses of this type of cable are for all type of devices. USB, these are the very popular one. Okay, so